Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. I'm Mads and thank you for clicking on today's video. The beginning of 2024 is among us. So today I'm going to be diving into the 24 books that I want to read in 2024. So this is basically just a very long TBR. Hopefully I get to all of these. I feel like most of these have been on my TBR for quite a while, or they have come up recently in my life and I really want to get to them. I probably will be reading other books outside this list, of course, but these are kind of the ones that I want to focus on. So here we go. I'm going to start with two that I don't have with me, or at least don't have a representative for, and one of those is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I have read the first three books, so that means I will be starting 2024 out with The Assassin's Blade and continuing the rest of the series from there. This series just follows Selena, who is this world-famous assassin, as she kind of gets dragged in to become the king's champion, and you find out a lot about her and her backstory, and she isn't what she seems, and it really is insane. It is a YA fantasy. It has fae and magic and kind of a little bit of political intrigue, but that one I would say a little bit less so and a little bit more on the fighting aspect. But I am very much looking forward to finishing this series. I think I gave Throne of Glass maybe 2.5, 3 stars, but as I continue on in the series, I kind of love each book a little bit more, so I am really looking forward to finally finishing the series. It is my 2024 goal to finish the Throne of Glass series. Maybe I'll start ACOTAR in 2025, we'll see. That's future Mads' problem. As of right now, my goal is to finish the Throne of Glass series, and I'm so excited to do so because I just know it'll probably get better from here. Don't knock the books over, please. Special guest appearance from Luna. Okay, so my second book that I don't have with me, but my dad has it, is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. My dad is currently reading this series right now, and he is just loving it so much that I want to read this series just so I can talk to him about it, because there are so many books that I have read that I've made him read so I could talk about it with him, and I just have to do the same for him. I'm really not sure how to describe it. I've heard people compare it to The Hunger Games. It's about this world that's split into this caste system, and our main character is in the bottom system of the Reds, and I think it's kind of following this revolution of trying to destroy this caste system. It is a YA dystopian, and I think it takes place in space, which I always love my space dystopians. So I'm really looking forward to reading this book, and after hearing my dad talk about it and hearing one of my coworkers talk about it, I just am so excited to dive into this book. Okay, so those are the two books that I don't really have to show, but the rest I can kind of show as I go. I am not doing this in any particular order, so I'm just gonna grab a book from my monstrous stack over here and go. Okay, so I love to plan to read a classic for each year, or at least that's kind of a newer thing I'm starting to incorporate. This last year it was Little Women, and in 2024 I want to read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This is a very big one, and I just need to read it. It is a love story taking place in probably the 1800s. I imagine that's the time period between Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy. I'm really not entirely sure what the plot really is to it, but that's kind of the main aspect and what this book is known for, and I really can't wait to read it. I've never seen the movie. I will really be going into this book fairly blind, which is so weird. I feel like not a lot of people go into classics blind because they're very well known, but all I really seen from this are random quotes and scenes from this book and the movie. So I am going to hopefully try and annotate it, which that means it'll take me probably a month to get through. It's okay, I want to read Pride and Prejudice and annotate it for my classic of 2024. Okay, so the next book that I'm going to talk about is Serpent in the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This one kind of blew up, I think, near the beginning of this year, kind of when Fourth Wing was taking its toll on the world. And this is a adult romantasy, so it is a fantasy romance. This one, I believe, is about a kind of love story between a human and a vampire. The human is the adopted daughter of the vampire king, and she kind of has to go through this competition to prove herself. And so that means going up against this other vampire. And so, what do they do but fall in love? So this is I think an enemies to lovers story in a competition setting between a human and a vampire. I hope I didn't butcher that. I'm pretty sure I got that description right, just from how much I've heard about it. And I definitely don't just want to read it because of this gorgeous cover. So I just can't wait to dive into it. I'm kind of surprised. This book is dense. It's heavy, and it's not even that long. It's just the pages feel very dense, and so I always find that kind of funny. This book just looks gorgeous, and I can't wait to formulate my own opinion because Carissa Broadbent is a fairly popular author, I feel like, and I just want to see how I enjoy her writing. Okay, so the next one has been on so many of my TBRs that it's almost painful, and so I'm hoping that this is one of the last TBRs that this book is in. The next TBR this book will be in better be a monthly one, and then it won't be on any more TBRs because I will have read it finally, and that is The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. So this book is about this kind of competition between these 6 characters who are fighting to become the, I think, guards or warriors for the Library of Alexandria, which never burned down. So they are competing, but only 5 can be initiated into this honor, and it's very magical and dark academia, and I've just heard so many amazing things. I've also heard kind of some meh things about it. I've heard that some people had a really hard time getting through this book and that the writing kind of just wasn't for them, or that they are really confused throughout all of it. I don't mind reading a book that makes me confused as long as the characters make up for it. So I can't wait to see how I feel about this book. It's such a well-known one, and it has been on my TBR forever. I'm getting to it. I promise I'm going to get to it. I will get to it in 2024. I promise. Please hold me to this promise. The next one is one that has been on my TBR for a really long time, but has just been added to my physical TBR. And that is I Fell in Love with Hope by Loncali. I just recently got this one. This book follows these terminally ill patients as they try and live life to the fullest. And I've just heard that it is completely and utterly heartbreaking. So I definitely think I will need to read this in the summer when it's sunny and I don't have to deal with school and I can just be happy and then destroy myself with this and then pick myself up again. This will be read. I've just heard absolutely amazing things. I don't think I've seen a bad review about this book, actually. It's gonna destroy me, and I am so ready for it too. This last year, I read The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, and I completely fell in love with that book. So after I read that, I knew I had to continue reading T.J. Klune books. So in 2024, I would love to read Under the Whispering Door. This one looks like it has very similar vibes to House in the Cerulean Sea, so I can't wait to read it. So it's about this guy, Wallace, who dies, and he wants to kind of live life to the fullest as much as he can as a dead person in the 7 days before he gets brought over to the other side. So somebody just helps him kind of live life before it really truly ends for him, and this might make me cry. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably gonna make me cry. I'll save this one for summer. I read House in the Cerulean Sea in the summer and it was perfect. I'm gonna save this one for summer. I'm hoping it's kind of another cozy, whimsical fantasy with just emotion and heartbreak, and those are the vibes I'm getting from it. So I'm hoping it lives up to it. I can't wait to see what I think about TJ Klune's other books. Another book I really want to get to, only because I've been seeing like a lot of things about it, and I have so many books kind of in this YA fantasy genre that I just haven't gotten to, and that they're like fairly popular, and I just need to get to them. So this is gonna be my start, and that is Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. When outlaw leader meets performed thief, a cat and mouse game of false move ensues, bringing them intimately together in a battle that may cost them their lives and their hearts. I think this one might have a bit of found family, kind of like a crew coming together, and I just can't wait to read more about it. I believe that technically you're supposed to read another series before you read this duology. I don't know if I'm going to or not. Let me know what your thoughts if you know about this series and kind of the Remnants Chronicles and the reading order for it. Let me know, because as of right now, I'm just gonna read Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves, I think is the second one. I've seen this book grip so many people and steal their hearts, and I just really love a good fantasy with an amazing romance, and I will always love a good YA fantasy. So I am going to read this book, hopefully. Someday. Okay, the next one, I promise I'll get to. I have to. It's like a need, it's a must. And that is Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. I only have Once Upon a Broken Heart, so this is standing in for Ballad of Never After. I'm hoping if I ever treat myself to a book at some point in 2024, it might be Ballad of Never After, and I'm hoping that I can get it in the paperback edition that matches this one, because I just love it when my books match, obviously. So I really need to read Ballad of Never After. It is a sequel to Once Upon a Broken Heart, which follows Evangeline as she makes a deal with a notorious fate called the Prince of Hearts, aka Jax, who is very well known and very well loved in the Caraval trilogy, which takes place right before this. And so she kind of makes a deal with him, and there's all this fallout, I feel like, that's happening in this series, and it's just very magical and fairy tale-esque, and I just can't wait to dive back into Stephanie Garber's writing and continue the story of Evangeline and Jax. I'm hoping that after I read Ballad of Never After, I can get my hands on Curse for True Love very quickly, because I heard there's kind of a bit of a cliffhanger that I won't be able to handle, so let's hope I can read those back to back. Okay, another book that I need to read is A Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong. I love these violent delights, and I just recently read Last Violent Call. I think I might have read this out of order. I think I was supposed to read Last Violent Call after I read this. Well, it gives me motivation to read this. After reading Last Violent Call, I kind of just got gripped back into Chloe Gong's world and writing, and knew I had to continue the story. This one follows Rosalind, Juliet's cousin, and she is now like a spy, assassin, agent person. I don't know. She's super cool now and deadly, and she has to team up with this guy, Orion, and I've seen amazing things about their relationship, so I can't wait to read this book and continue Chloe Gong's writing. And hopefully I get to see some of my other favorite characters in this book as well. Next book is one that I've just recently acquired. Penguin Teen has sent this book to me, and I can't wait to dive into it, and that is Spin of Fate by A.A. Vora. I'm just gonna read the back because this book comes out in May of 2024, and so not many people know about it. I kind of have an idea of what it's about, but I don't think I'd be able to explain it well. So I'm going to just read the back, and hopefully you guys fall in love with it as much as I did when I read this synopsis. Magnificent beasts, unforgiving magic, epic battles. Aina's world is governed by tyrannic law, a force that segregates people into upper and lower realms. It's said that if the sinful lowers commit themselves to kindness and charity, their souls will lighten, allowing them into a peaceful upper realm. But Aina, one of the few lowers to ever ascend, just wants to go back home. Aina is desperate to reunite with her mother, hoping she survived the beasts and war of her homeland alone. After failing to weigh down her soul with petty crimes, Aina joins a rebel group defying the authorities and bringing aid to those condemned to life of suffering in the lower realms. Alongside Aina are two new recruits, Mazen, a ruthless fighter trying to save his clan from the extinction, and Erinel, a spoiled noble spying for the establishment. Before long, the rebels find themselves in the middle of a brewing war. On one side, a violent king of a lower realm is bent on destroying tyrannic law. On the other, the authorities of the upper realms will do anything to maintain their power. Now the young rebels must face both sides head on if they want to stop conflict that could break not only tyrannic law, but the universe itself. This sounds so good. It's kind of based off of this idea of karma, you know, if you do good, you go up, if you do bad, you go down, and it just seems like it's such a unique concept. It has this little trio that I'm hoping turns into a found family. I'm not sure if there's romance in it or not, but it is a YA fantasy, and this world just looks magical and amazing, and I can't wait to read it. Once again, I don't have the other books in this series, so this is my stand-in. I need to finish the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I still need to read All In and Bad Blood, and I heard that if you're going to read these two, you kind of need to read them back to back. So I'm hoping to get my hands on these two and read them back to back. I'm hoping All In, we get to learn a little bit more about Sloane's backstory since it happens in Vegas. Not sure what happens in Bad Blood, but this series follows this group of very gifted teenagers who are part of this program in the FBI who kind of use their abilities to solve cold cases, but most of the time they get dragged into an active case. So I can't wait to see what these next two books bring my naturals into, and I can't wait to see their relationships continue to develop. Okay, next up is kind of another series. Once again, I'm counting this just as one book and my 24 for 2024, and that is the Clockwork series by Cassandra Clare. I haven't read a Cassandra Clare book in a hot second. I don't even know when I finished the Mortal Instruments series, but I've heard just such amazing things about this series, and I've heard it is a lot better than the Mortal Instruments. The only thing holding me back is that I know for a fact, like it's been proven to me, there is a love triangle in this series, so that makes me not very happy. But I'm going to read the series at some point in 2024. Hopefully, fingers crossed. This one follows, once again, Shadowhunters, but this takes place in the 1800s, I believe. I've heard it's very steampunk kind of vibes and very supernatural. You know, they're fighting these downworlders, which are like demons and vampires and werewolves and just these like supernatural creatures. So it is kind of like a historical urban fantasy with steampunk vibes. That's what it has been described to me as. It follows these three main characters, Tessa, Will, and James, kind of once again fighting this world of downworlders, and I'm sure, you know, there's something big happening with them, as there always is. I'm not sure what that is though, so I can't wait to dive into this book and see what the main problem is that arises for these characters. So I'm finally gonna read this one, guys. I've said that for a very long time. Next one is another one I've said I'm gonna get to for a very long time. It's been on my shelves forever. I really want to read Realmbreaker by Victoria Aveyard, mainly because it has a found family in it, and I just need that. I love found families, especially in fantasy, because it just kind of gives the vibes of like D&D, and so I need to read this. I heard it very much gives Lord of the Rings vibes, and that Victoria Aveyard took a lot of inspiration from Lord of the Rings, so I can't wait to just dive into this. These just people are teamed together and have to save this world from this darkness that's kind of growing in their realm, and the map just looks so amazing and fantastical, and I'm hoping this world just sweeps me in. I just can't wait to read these characters, because these characters all just look so entertaining and amazing, like this amazing group of fantasy characters. So I can't wait. Speaking of Victoria Aveyard, you know a series I really need to finish that I've been telling myself I need to finish for a very long time? The Red Queen series. I'm on Warstorm. I read King's Cage like 2, maybe 3 years ago. So going into this one, I'll probably be a little bit confused, but I'm not about to go reread this series just for this. I need to finish Warstorm. It concludes the Red Queen series and this revolution between the people with red blood and the people with silver blood, but kind of like more distinct people with red blood with powers and the people with silver blood that are the royalty of this world, and it's just this revolution and this fantasy setting. With each book I've kind of gotten more disinterested, so I just can't wait to finish the series and just say it's done. If I read this book, I'll probably read The Broken Throne as well, which is just a series of short stories and stories involving the Red Queen series, kind of like an extended epilogue probably, along with some other stories that I think take place before Red Queen. I'm not sure entirely what all stories are included, but if I read this one, I'll probably read that one as well. I cannot wait to read this next book, and I think I've been putting it off because I've heard that it leaves you heartbroken, and I'm just scared. but that is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This is one of the few Marissa Meyer books that I haven't read. I've read the Lunar Chronicles and the Renegades trilogy, so I need to read Heartless. I don't even remember getting this book, if I'm being completely honest. It's been a very long time since I've gotten this book, but this one follows Catherine, who is the Queen of Hearts in the famous story of Alice in Wonderland, except this book takes place before Alice in Wonderland takes place, so it's just her story and kind of how she comes to be the Queen of Hearts, I believe, and she kind of falls in love with Jest. And I've just heard that this story is just amazing. It is a YA fantasy fairy tale retelling, and I know that Marissa Meyer is a queen of fairy tale retellings because that is what the Lunar Chronicles is. So I just can't wait to read this and to dive into her writing again. It's gonna make me cry, but I've heard just such amazing things about it that I know that I have to read it. And kind of continuing on Marissa Meyer, I am finally gonna read Stars Above. I am gonna read Stars Above. This one is just a book of stories continuing on the Lunar Chronicles, just following, I think, some proposals, some marriages, just continuing their stories, and I love these characters. So I can't wait to get a little bit more of them. I especially can't wait for Cinder and Kai's and Cress and Thorn's little stories in this one because those are my favorite couples. So it's just gonna bring me so much joy. It's gonna make me cry out of joy. Like, I doubt anything sad happens. I'm just gonna read it and just tears of joy are just gonna be falling down my face. Okay, so kind of a long-standing goal of mine recently has been to read all of Rick Riordan's books. This last year, I read the Kane Chronicles and I read the Magnus Chase series. So in 2024, it is my goal and hope to read the rest of Rick Riordan's books. This is Chalice of the Gods, which is the recent addition to the Percy Jackson and the Heroes of Olympus series, which brings me so much joy to say. I am really hoping to reread the Percy Jackson series, the Heroes of Olympus series, read Chalice of the Gods, continue the Trials of Apollo series, and read The Sun and the Star. It's a lot to take on, but I fly through Rick Riordan's writing fairly quickly, so I think I can accomplish this. And it's weird counting all those books as like one on my 24 for 2024, but it would take up the entire list if I just did those ones, and I don't think that's fair to all these other amazing books, and I want to get to all these other amazing books, so this is counted as one. Percy Jackson is just Greek mythology taking place in modern day, a continuation, if you will. These children of gods go through these trials and kind of have to save the world multiple times, and it's just absolutely amazing. It is juvenile fiction, so it's more for the middle grade age range, but I will read whatever Rick Riordan writes, no matter what age range it is for. I can't wait to continue this series. Now that I have this edition, I really need to get the rest in hardcover versions of these covers. It's not a want, it's a need. I need all of them. Next up is another well-loved author of mine, and that is Marie Lu. I need to read Stars and Smoke. It's about this daughter of an infamous criminal tycoon and a pop star kind of getting involved, falling in love, and taking on the world. Yeah, okay, that sounds kind of like, okay, but it's Marie Lu, so I will read anything that she writes, and I believe she just announced the sequel to this book. I'm not sure when it's releasing, but I know that I need to get to Stars and Smoke and just continue my love for Marie Lu. Next book is a sequel to a book that I read 2 or 3 years ago. I don't remember when I read it, but Godslayers by Zoe Hannah Makuta is the sequel to Gearbreakers, and I love that book, okay? It is a YA sapphic dystopian with the found family trope. What more do you need? I can't wait to continue this series. So this series follows a gearbreaker whose goal is to break down these mechas, which are sent from the government to kind of take control of different lands. And this other girl who is a mecha, she is one of the people trained to control the mechas, and it's an enemies to lovers, or at least the first book is. This one just continues their story after a cliffhanger of an ending after Gearbreakers, and I don't know why I didn't pick it up right away after I got my hands on it, but but I didn't. So my goal is to read this book in 2024. Next up on my list is I Kiss Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. This is Casey McQuiston's YA book. It is a YA sapphic contemporary. I don't know why. I can't really wrap my head around the synopsis for this book, but I'm pretty sure it's about this girl who kisses Shara Wheeler, and Shara Wheeler goes missing, and so she kind of has to go find her. I think she has to talk to these other people who have kind of kissed or been with Shara Wheeler. I don't know why. I can't wait to read it so I can finally know how to explain it, but I just need to read it because Casey McQuiston wrote it, and Casey McQuiston is, if not my favorite, one of my favorite authors. So I will read anything that they write, and I can't wait to read this book. And then kind of following on the sapphic train, I have Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Low. I am not sure if this is YA or adult, but this is a historical fiction following Lily Who as she kind of just navigates being a lesbian in 1954. And so it takes place at this lesbian bar, the Telegraph Club, and it just looks so good, and I just can't wait to read it because it looks so good. And I've heard really good things about Melinda Low's writing, and I can't wait to read her writing and see what I think about it, and hopefully read some more of her books if I do love it. Okay, I have 2 more books to go, and they are books that I actually don't own, but my roommate slash best friend Laurel owns. And so we have The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. My roommate slash best friend read it this last summer, and she really wants me to read it. So I am probably gonna read it this summer because I feel like it's a very summery kind of book, and so I can't wait to read it. It is about the Southern Book Club slaying vampires.
All you need to know.
It's all you need to know. I'm not gonna read anything else about it. Laura wants me to read it. I'm going to read it. Okay, I saved the most heartbreaking one for last. I need to read A Little Life. I am going to save this one for the summer because I know if I read it during winter, I might have a mental breakdown, and I feel like that's not really productive. So I'm gonna read it during summer where I can get some vitamin D and serotonin from the sun and break my heart with this book. This one is I think probably a adult literary fiction following these 4 college classmates, and I'm not sure what about it. I've just heard heartbreaking things about this book, and I don't really know what about it is heartbreaking. I'm not really sure entirely what the plot is, but I know that I need to read it, and I heard it has an amazing found family. And if I'm being completely honest, that is the main drive of my decision to read this. So I'm gonna read A Little Life in 2024 and get back to you all on how I feel after reading it. And I can't wait to read it because I think it has so much potential to become one of my favorite books. I'm scared. So those are essentially 24 books that I want to read in 2024. I know some of them are series and kind of include multiple books, but I'm just counting them as one. I don't want to take up too much space on this list, or else it would literally only be Rick Riordan and Sarah J Maas, and I want to shine light on these other books because I am going to get to these books. At the end of the year, I'm going to come back to this video and see if I actually did get to all of these. I think there's a couple that have potential of me not getting to them, but it is my goal and hope to get to all of these. A lot of them have been on my TBR for quite a while, and some of them are series that I just need to finish. I'm gonna do it. I swear I'm gonna do it, guys. I'm gonna do it. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Let me know the books that you want to read in 2024, or if you have read any of these, give me some more motivation to read them. I will see you guys in my next video. I hope you all have an amazing day and an amazing week. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe below. Bye!